Hey, it's me, Joey, here with something a little different for this afternoon. Um, the weather's going to be fine for a day or two, so let's just ignore that and talk about some real life stuff. Try to explain, apologize for, and take back something I said, and maybe explain, the good intention I had behind what I'm trying to do here. At the same time, as say I really didn't mean to victim blame or point fingers at anybody. So there was an accident up at Hush Lake a few weeks ago. Word was going around the community that people were blaming the snow truck drivers, and I'm not really friends with any of those guys, but I had a hard time with that because we've been sitting here for days screaming, "The weather's bad, don't be out there," right? And people don't have a choice. They die to go to and from work in this contemptible system we have where people have to make ends meet. I'm not saying it's your employer's fault, but employers, when we got a snowstorm going on, it's Friday, let people go, man. Is no dollars worth it? In the future, and that's the status quo, is to put our heads down and do it. It's just winter, no big deal. That's the status quo, and that kills people, right? So I'm not saying it's Tolko's fault. I'm not saying it's the driver's fault. I don't know why that transport crossed the lane. It's terrible. It was bad weather, and it really sucks. And if I hurt you in trying to say what I said, that wasn't the intention. I simply am trying to prevent future accidents by saying to people, this is real. It actually happens. It actually happens. If you go out there, you can't take the roads for granted. You can't take anything for granted. It's you against the world at that point, against other drivers, against the roads, against the conditions, against the snow. And whether you had a good reason to be there or not, when the consequence happens, it happens to you. That's what I meant, right? I didn't say that properly. And that's my fault because I'm a public communicator and I owe it to everybody to say what I mean and say it in a meaningful way, right? And I didn't say it in a meaningful way. I said it in a way that added to your pain when that was not my intention. There's been 2 deaths this week here. One of them happened in this building. Our friend Lisa, we think she had a stroke or something, right? My heart's a little heavy as it is right now, and I'm feeling your pain and feeling like I added to it. And I know the rest of the community, if you're mad at me, I'll take it. I'll take it, because I've been trying for 10 years to do everything I can to keep you safe. And there's been times where I've been frustrated as a former, I'm still a wildland firefighter, but I was a first responder, and I picked body parts up off the road, and I live with this frustration and anger of the reality of these accidents and the tragedy of it. Maybe anything I'm going to say now isn't going to make it much better, but if you at least accept that I wasn't trying to blame him, and I'm sorry for that. Maybe as a community, to try to make wrongs right a little bit, we could use the organizing power we have to try to raise some money for the family. I don't have if someone has an email address that for where donations are being taken, we could distribute that email address and try to get some help to a family who's now going to go through Christmas without a dad, and it's really terrible. And that's the reality of the highway, friends. And our safety is up to us at that point when we're out there, and that doesn't mean that you deserved that. No. The consequences happen to us when they happen to us out there. That doesn't mean we deserved what happens, right? And I didn't mean it that way. I simply wanted everyone to understand when there's a snowstorm, the more of you that cannot go out, the better. Just like when we have screaming avalanche conditions, and for days I'm telling you, don't go out there, and someone does and they die. And that's happened a number of times now. And afterwards, I'm like, what do I have to say? What do I have to do? How can I make it right? How can I protect everybody? How can I be, So there's this frustration with myself that I can't do enough. I can't do enough to help everybody. And sometimes the hillbilly in me words things in ways that are incorrect because it wasn't my intention to blame anybody for a terrible accident. Friends, please, when the weather's bad, if you can stay home, do so. Employers, if you can let people go early, please do so. The fewer people on the roads, you can't trust the plows, you can't trust the weather, you can't trust the roads. It's wintertime, and wintertime can kill people. It's a real harsh, sad, awful reality. Yeah, I didn't mean to hurt the family. I just don't want to see other families go through that. Caitlin S. Scott grew up in Wells here. She died on Thursday doing what she loved to do. She would jump out of planes and off cliffs wearing a wingsuit. And she set a Canadian record for fastest wingsuit dive a few months ago. She had a bad accident less than 2 years ago. They said she'd never walk again, and she worked her ass off to get back up to break that record. But she had a fall in Squamish this week, and Caitlin's gone. And we have to live with that. We have to live with that now. That's the hard reality. And here I was Tuesday morning, and suddenly there's paramedics in my house, and down the hallway in her room, our friend Lisa's dying. And, you know, they're two very different cases, but both cases where you say, like, wow, you know, you made your decisions and we love you and we're sad you're gone. What happened. We love you. We're sad you're gone. It's a loss to the community. Both those cases, a loss to the community for comrade who died in the highway at Hush Lake. You know, on that same stretch of road where twice I've almost been killed. It's a stupid stretch of road. People so underestimate it. You know, and we have a hard attitude. Like, well, it's just wintertime. Man, that's a killer lethal road. It's struck again. It's taken from our community again. And it's sad. And I'm sorry if my attempt to defend the plow truck drivers, because I know as a weatherman you can't keep the roads safe in that weather. I know it. I'm here to tell you that. That's my job. I'm screaming at it. I'm screaming at everybody, and breaking my heart watching people die and watching loss happens and feeling like I can't do fucking anything enough. Even with 39,000 people watching Weather Watchers, even with 6,000 subscribers here, even with people hearing me everywhere, posts getting shared thousands of times, I can't do enough to make these things not happen. I can't. And I sometimes that frustration spills out into how I word things. And clearly I erred. I could have said similar things in a way better way. I could have said, I'm sorry this happened. This is really terrible. Please, it's not the plow truck driver's fault. It's not my fault. It's not your fault. Maybe it's the other truck driver. I'm not going to guess at that. Combination of bullshit comes together and steals someone from our community, and I feel that right now. And, you know, my goal is to prevent that, to point at these things and say, it's real. It happens. Don't take anything for granted. You got to be out there like it's fucking war. And maybe he wasn't, it didn't matter. Right? These are winter driving conditions. I know this attitude, it's just winter. Until it happens to someone you love. If on the Barkerville Highway, it was so bad on Friday night coming home, I thought, why am I out here? Oh, because I had to get my kids. I should have just called the ex-wife and said, no, this is ridiculous. I turned around. And I went and did it, and we fought our way back and got here. And it's like, well, there's no traffic to hit me head on in the Barkerville Highway, at least. Maybe a moose or two. It was sketchy, and the roads were bad, and I knew that no amount of plowing would stop the melt and slush and everything that was going on. And I knew it was up to me to win that, right? And as best I could, but I shouldn't have been out in it. I shouldn't have. And I'm tough about it. Mountain man, I can drive in the snow. Yeah, you know, that's part of my character up here. And sometimes I'm wrong for pushing ahead and doing that too, because my children are, you know, they need me, and just as his kids need him. So I just promise to be better. You know, with what's happened here this week, I felt like, man, it was a painful week. We hauled our friend out of this house. And through that, people in the community were like, man, you know, let's fix the things that have gone wrong in the past. And, you know, we've been hard on you, Joey, and Barkerville, you know, came forward and said we wronged you. And, like, the shell that's been around me kind of shattered. And I'm sitting here today feeling like a really, really open-hearted man that cares about people. And I'm sorry. But yeah, if we can raise some money for this family somehow, everybody, I would like to do that. is a way of saying, there's a real way of me trying to use my organizing power to make some difference. It won't be enough. Nothing will be enough. But maybe it's enough to say that, people in the community care, and we are all in this together. We are a Caribou community. We're here for each other. We have to be. And if I cause division, and this isn't like the times, people are mad. This isn't like the times where like, I don't like his politics. I don't like the way he talks. He swears too much. This isn't like that. This is someone's hurting and they're lashing out. They're in an angry state. They're grieving. I feel that. I'm sympathetic to that. And I'm sorry. Sorry if I added to that at all. Please, everyone, be safe this Christmas holidays. Let's have no more of this. As little as possible, right? For North Caribou Highway Rescue, who's got to show up to our accidents, and the ambulance people in the corner, and everyone's got to deal with the disaster and suffer the pain of that. If we could just, next time it's bad out there, think to yourself, this is real. It happens to people. It could happen to me. And like I say, if you're an employer and you can break that status quo and send people early, please do. Because I don't care about your profits or your production. That means nothing to me. People shouldn't have to die to go to work. And I don't say that blaming Tolko either. I'm saying the way it is that we're operating leads to these consequences as a society. And it sucks. So anyways, I love so many of you. Try my best for you. I feel like a change has happened to me this week. That makes me feel like I want to be better for everybody. Push harder to give better reporting, to take my attitude out of it. And I mean, there's reasons I had an attitude around here, and there are good reasons. But when you see the writing on the wall, it's time to change. It's time to change. And here's me showing I want to change. So, yeah. Happy holidays, everybody. Please be safe out there, and take care of yourselves. Love your loved ones. Hug them. When you have petty fights, realize it doesn't matter, and say, you know what? I'm so lucky I have you in my life, because there's people who've lost that, and it's terrible. And that's the worst part about being human, is knowing the finiteness of our lives and having to suffer that with others. It's terrible. Okay, that's all I got for you today. Come back with you a forecast later. Thanks, everybody. Sorry.